Hey guys, it's Liv here, and in today's video, we're going to be using the team built by Wolf Glick, of course, who won the Orlando Regionals. If you guys enjoy us and you want to see more, leave a like and subscribe. And I guess for the first game, we're taking on an exact mirror. So, Flutter, Main, Gothitelle, Scream Tail, Moongus, Palafin, Arcanine. So the difference is, though, is that this person isn't actually using the rental team, and you could tell because of the order of the Pokemon that specifically this person actually either A, did some tweaks to this team, or B, this person ended up actually just either breeding this team illogically fast, or what probably happened is they probably hacked the team in. Shh, don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone. The video will get demonetized. Okay, so with all that out of the way, I think realistically my lead is always Palafin here with, I feel like Palafin and Fluttermane should be a decent lead. If not, maybe Palafin Screamtail could be decent. The one concern I have is potentially with Amoonguss, but I can always bring in Arcanine here. And then I do need to remember, I'm pretty sure this is Terra Dark. Yep, Terra Dark. Okay, so I should still be fine actually with Fluttermane. I don't think I really need Goth in this game, if I'm going to be honest. I mean, Goth wouldn't be bad. I think that ultimately this comes down to the fact that they're probably going to be trapping themselves in anyway. And realistically, I think I just outplay them is what it's going to come down to here. I think it'll ultimately lead to the best result for me personally. I can't really see a world where I would actually want to try and trap their Gothitelle when realistically it's just going to end up being the same sort of situation for me. Also, I'm live cropping this, by the way, so I'm sorry if anything randomly changes. There's a little green screen over there that was peeking through, but they're going to lead off with Screamtail and Gothitelle. That's perfectly fine in all honesty. We're going to boost our speed with Photosynthesis, thankfully. What I can actually manage to do here, I'm going to proceed to go for the... I think I'm going to switch here. I'm going to switch out into the Arcanine. Because... Oh, right, I can't switch. Okay. So, yeah, we're going to have to commit. And we're just going to go for Terra Water Wave Crash. Well, no, Terra Water Jet Punch. And we're going to kill the Fluttermane as quickly as possible. I don't really care about Gothitelle in all honesty here. Actually, no. What I'm going to do, I'm going to proceed to click Protect first. And then I'm going to click Perish Song. I want them to switch out their Gothitelle. And if we can force them to switch out their Gothitelle, then I can switch out Palafin later on, and that'll be huge. I might also just have to ultimately try and bully their team with, or bully their Gothitelle, I should say. Which it wouldn't be the greatest, but I could maybe Terra Screamtail, and that might be useful. I'm not really too sure, in all honesty, what my approach is going to be here. They're going to go for Shadow Ball on Screamtail, it's fine. We should chew this pretty comfortably, actually. The Screamtail is insanely bulky. As you can see here, we took about, like, half. And we're going to force them into a position where they no longer have their fake out option. And on top of this as well, if they switch out any other Pokemon, well, if they switch out their Gothitelle, I can switch out. We're going to proceed to go for the Terra Water Wave Crash here into Screamtail. Meanwhile, I'm going to go for Protect. From here, I'll probably go for a Jet Punch plus the Play Rough, and that should take out a Screamtail entirely at that point. I don't really think they'll have an out from here. Realistically, I could also potentially Terra Screamtail, but I think that the Palafin being the Terra option here should be decent. As long as they didn't bring a Moongus to this game, I'm actually able to destroy their whole comp with this, so I'm pretty okay with that personally. I think it's a good trade-off. Plus, losing Screamtail isn't the biggest deal, in all honesty, this game. Despite that it's a really big, important part of this team, it's not going to do a ton of favors in Mirror other than just going for Perish. So we're just going to keep it alive just to keep field positioning up and try and make sure that we have as much Mons as possible going into this next set. They're going for Screamtail, for Shadow Ball into Screamtail, I should say, which is fine. I'm going to go for the Terra Water Wave Crash into a Jet Punch, and then this should take out the Fluttermane. I don't think we'll even need to quick Flare Up, in all honesty. Yeah, we literally bring this down to Focus Sash, which isn't even with a critical hit. Truly incredible how much Terra does make a difference in this Pokemon. We'll see what Gothitelle goes for here. They're going to go for Psychic into Palafin. Really, I'm okay with this. We take this hit pretty comfortably, thankfully. And I'm going to proceed to go for a Protect on Palafin here, and then Play Off into the Fluttermane. If they're going to go for Protect, then that's fine. They're just limiting their Perish turns. We'll go for Protect here, and I'm going to try and take out the... Actually, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to disable... No, I'm just going to click Protect. I'm just going to click Play Off. No reason to go for anything else, in my opinion. I think, realistically, I don't gain a lot from just going for the... For just going for anything else, in my opinion. Not only that, but I will say as well, when it is the last turn on the field, my play is always going to be to click Perish Song again. This should cover in case of my opponent does switch around. I can potentially try and limit Pokemon on the field. We are going to have guaranteed one more Pokemon here. And on top of that as well, we're going to proceed to see at least another one come through. So At the very least, if Gothitelle is preserved, we're going to claim 2 kill. Well, we're going to claim a kill on Goth and then bring them down to 2 while putting another Pokemon on Perish, forcing it to no longer be able to switch. Otherwise, we're going to be able to get 2 Perishmons in, and they'll be able to switch around, sure, but I can put enough pressure under one slot to force the other one to die. So as long as I make that right call, I should be fine here. With Flutter Mane being gone as well, this is huge for us. They're going to go to Arcanine. They're going to probably click E-Speed, which I'm okay with that in all honesty. I'm going to proceed to click Wave Crash into Arcanine, because I would assume that I outpace it. What's my Palafin's speed, actually? Because I could check this really quick. So 126 speed versus 154. So we don't actually outpace, funny enough. We'll go for Jet Punch into Arcanine. And then I'm going to click Perish Song here. And when they do switch out, yep, they're going to switch out Gothitelle, it's fine. They can only switch that mon out. So Arcanine is now officially out of Perish turn as well. Realistically, the Amoonguss as well being on one is pretty good for us, albeit it's no game changer or anything. They'll go for Protect. I'm pretty okay with this. Obviously, Arcanine is going to preserve health, and that means that Palafin is going to die here. But I'm still fine with this. We managed to kill the Flutter Mane, which is a decent offensive piece here. My Flutter Mane should do some good work as well. Meanwhile, they're going to be put on a Perish Song timer on both Amoonguss and Arcanine. So we'll proceed to take that. Screamtail is going to die here as well as Palafin, but I'm pretty fine with this. We'll proceed to bring in our Flutter Mane plus... I'm kind of wishing I brought Goth here, though. Because Goth could have claimed the KO on both these Pokemon, essentially. But it's still not a huge deal in honesty. I think that realistically having... let's see. So they're going to be down to 3 turns. We're going to bring in Arcanine here. And we're going to bring in Flutter Mane here. Okay. So we're going to lower the Arcanine's attack, which should be decent. Not only this, but I could potentially go for... well, I don't know, because I really want to take out one of these Pokemon. Guaranteed. What I think I'm going to do, I'm going to attack into the Amoonguss, because I can kill the Arcanine that way, guaranteed. So we're going to go for the Flare Blitz here, and I'm going to proceed to go for the... I'm going to go for the Shadow Ball here. This should take out Amoonguss, I feel like. Maybe it won't, but it's going to do a significant amount of damage anyway. Meanwhile, Arcanine, the best thing it could do, I guess, is just attack Flutter Mane with a Flare Blitz or switch out here. Because if it switched out here, then essentially we would have 2 Pokemon that are unaffected by Perish. However, I think realistically, actually, the Amoonguss is what switches out. So this would kill Gothitelle and then force Arcanine to be dead. Meanwhile, Amoonguss should be pretty easy for me to actually KO here. They're going to go for Protect, so that's fine. I'm going to assume that Arcanine's going to click Flare Blitz then. Or maybe it's going to switch out next turn. I think I'm fine with this either way. I think I always just target into Amoonguss here. They're going to proceed to... I'm curious what they'll actually do. Because... they're gonna... let's see. So they're gonna go for Flare Blitz here. Okay, I'm fine with this. Flare Blitz into Flutter Mane. We still take that hit pretty comfortably, thankfully. Burn. Okay, a little bit annoying, but it's still not a huge deal. I'm gonna proceed to still target into the Amoonguss in all honesty. I think that this is still my best play. And even if I can KO the Amoonguss, it means that Arcanine can't switch out later on. So this should still be beneficial for me. We'll go for Flare Blitz here, and we're gonna go for the Shadow Ball here. And this should be enough to pressure the Amoonguss, thankfully. I can't really see a world where it doesn't just get knocked out by this. Especially with the Flare Blitz and Arcanine, they would essentially have to tear this Pokemon, which if they do tear this Pokemon, that's fine. I can go for the Moonblast next turn. Though I will say they're going to probably switch out Arcanine this turn into Gothitelle or Amoonguss into Gothitelle, and then switch the other one out in the following turn, which if they bring in Gothitelle here, that's also okay, because that means that I should be able to take it out. They are going to proceed to switch out Gothitelle here, into Gothitelle here, which is perfectly okay, because next turn... Gothitelle should be taken out, and as well as the Arcanine too. They're going to E-Speed my Arcanine, which I'm okay with this. Realistically, the Arcanine going for this play actually works out pretty well for me, because Gothitelle thankfully is not going to have a ton of health left. Albeit, I guess, so actually no, I guess they could switch out in theory. I'm going to go for Flare Blitz, and I'm going to hope that this can take out Gothitelle. It does not. Can we get a burn? If we get a burn, they burn my Flutter Mane. They burn my Flutter Mane. Can we get the burn here? Nope, of course not. Okay. So essentially, at this point, I now need to go for the Shadow Ball into the Gothitelle spot. Meanwhile, I'm going to go for Protect an Arcanine. This should at least bring us down to a position where they're going to be having only 2 Pokemon left anyway, even if they switch out Arcanine here. So it's still fine, but just a little bit inconvenient is all. Because, obviously, without having the Goth... oh, they're not going to switch out Arcanine. Okay, so Arcanine's just going to die here. And I mean, they'll trade Flutter Mane for it, sure. But I'm still okay with this because it's going to be essentially just Arcanine versus Amoonguss. The one issue will be the fact that Amoonguss could actually just go for... Amoonguss could just go for Terra Dark, and then it will take on Arcanine 1v1, which that's probably what's going to happen here realistically. And I don't really think I have a ton for that. I don't realistically think I actually have anything for that, in all honesty. But it's going to be what it is. Realistically, though, I thankfully can't really... Well, I don't have to worry about, like, Spore or anything. Because I believe it's Goggles Arcanine, but it's still concerning nonetheless. Okay. So, we're gonna... What am I gonna do here? I'm trying to think of what I realistically do here. Because this Amoonguss will be a bit of a problem. Specifically because it preserved Terra. Though if they don't preserve Terra, I think I win. Well, regardless though, we're just gonna have to Flare Blitz into it. I think Flare Blitz turn 1 is gonna be our play. We need to hope that 1, we don't die to recoil, 2, that it can't take us out in the following turn, and 3, that we can get a burn. Because essentially my best play would be to go for the Flare Blitz, get the burn, protect, and then go for E-Speed. And I'm gonna have to hope that that's enough to take this mon out. I don't think it will. I think realistically I just get beaten here. But, man, at the same time, I feel like that even if I brought Gothitelle, in all honesty, I don't think it really made a huge difference. Essentially, realistically, what I would have needed to do, I would have needed to lead off with like Gothitelle plus a Parashmon like my opponent did. And then that would have been my play. Ooh, we actually do a lot here. Did Amoonguss go for an offensive move or did it go for like a Spore? Went for Pollen Puff. Did it KO? Can it not KO? It did KO. Okay, unfortunate. Really close game regardless though. But just is what it is. The Terra on Amoonguss obviously did literally make a difference there. So it just came down to my opponent probably preserving that a bit easier. But we'll get into game number 2 here. Regardless, we'll see you guys then. Peace out, guys. Getting into game number 2, we're taking out a team consisting of Flutter Mane, Sandy, Shocks, Brute, Bonnet, Tauros, Fire, Scizor, and Murkrow. Okay, so looking at this, I feel like this would definitely be a team where, so for one, they don't really have great ways outside of Flutter Mane getting around the Shadow Tag Goth here, which should be pretty huge. The one exception might be the Amoonguss, but I could, in theory, try and play 50-50s with my Terra there. They're going to definitely bring the Brute Bonnet there 100% though. I think realistically what I actually lead, I think I lead off with Goth and Scream and Flutter Mane here. I think that I'm going to proceed to bring, well actually no, I'm going to bring Goth and Screamtail here as my lead. This should be decent against majority of things, and I think I could realistically Terra Screamtail to get around something and then go for the Perish Trap. I'm going to bring the... I'm not going to bring the Palafin. No, I am going to bring Palafin. I'm going to lead off with Screamtail, Palafin. I'm going to bring Goth in the back. And then I think my final mon is going to be Arcanine. I don't really like Amoonguss in this game. I don't think it offers a ton. And realistically, the redirection here all kind of hit it for super effective. Whether I Terra or not, by the way, they all hit it for super effective. Like the Tauros, for example, hits me for super effective. In theory, the Scizor might also have some super effective coverage for both pre and post Terra. And realistically, I'm assuming as well it's something on this team is going to have some sort of... And also, that's the thing, is I can Terra all I want, but I'm going to still be potentially caught by something. So... we're going to proceed to see the Tauros ending up leading here, which is perfectly fine by me. I'm going to proceed to go for the... So, the biggest concern I'm going to have here would be with the Tauros going for some sort of burn on my Palafin. That could actually be a pretty big issue. So, what I'm going to proceed to do, I'm going to go for this, and I'm going to go... Actually, no, I can't even go hard Gothitelle because of the lead. I'm going to proceed to just take out the Flutter Mane turn 1. We're going to go for this, and I'm going to go for the Terra Water and the Jet Punch, and this should be enough to wear the Palafin in range. I'm going to assume that despite the -1 that we should be able to nail this thing down to like a Focus Sash or something of the sort. We'll double check this real quick. I think in a worst case, I just have to play off it again on the following turn. Flutter Mane versus Palafin. So, let's see. We're going to hit Terrassa, obviously, and we are Adamant. Yeah, this should be enough. This should do around like 70. Well, you don't know because that's with the -1. Yeah, we're going to do like half, which is a little bit unfortunate. Oh, they're going to Protect. Okay, that's huge, actually. This does essentially open up another turn where later on I can go for the Jet Punch yet again and kill this mon, or even potentially just a Play Off. Yeah, we do around half. Okay, that's fine. So this is... Oh, nope. Now I need to go for the... Okay, so here actually what I can manage. I'm going to proceed to go for another Jet Punch here while also going for the Perish Song. Because the Perish Song should nail the Tauros. Meanwhile, I can go for Jet Punch. Actually, no. What I'm going to do, I'm going to click the Protect. Actually, no, I'm going to click Disable. No, I'm going to click Protect, yeah. Because I want to try and disable Willow on Tauros, potentially. And I'm going to click Protect on Palafin. Because I can disable the Willow on Tauros, then Jet Punch this, and keep my Palafin as functional as possible for later on. While also potentially going for the KO on Fluttermane, and then I start going for Perish Trapping, and I think that should work out well. They're going to go for Protect anyway, so they're most likely going for the Willow into the Palafin, which works out really well for me with this play, because I can proceed to take out Fluttermane next turn because they also went through a Protect. They're going to actually go for Raging Bull here, which still works out fine, in all honesty. It's a Fire type attack anyway. I'm not really sure why they clicked this. But regardless, though, we'll go for the Disable here on the Tauros. If that's the attack they're going to go for, that's fine. I'm going to go for the Jet Punch. It should do minimum half. Looking at the calcs, it does 50% minimum, which the damage roll wasn't too huge, but it's still valuable, of course, here. We're going to proceed to see my opponent going for Brute Bonnet. Okay, so Brute Bonnet is fine. We'll be a little bit worried about Brute Bonnet, I guess, by going for Perish Trap, but it's not a huge concern. It's not a huge concern. We're going to disable the Raging Bull here, though, which this should actually be decent. Making sure that we're able to clear the primary stab this thing is going to go for is pretty huge. We'll go for the Play Off here into Bonnet. Meanwhile, I'm going to go into Arcanine. Arcanine should be decent. We're going to obviously be able to intimidate both of these physical attackers. On top of that as well, the Arcanine is Goggles, so they can't really put us to sleep with Bonnet, thankfully. So Palafin is going to switch out, and this should make it into a much scarier offensive threat later on between the lack of Intimidate as well as the Palafin hero form. So I'm pretty okay with this. And that's really how you kind of have to function this team. It's really essentially just about the key switches you make. This Play Off doesn't do a ton of damage, sure, but I now have an Arcanine here that can go for a really strong Flare Blitz into the spot. My opponent went for Will-O-Wisp here, which is really fine by me. And my Arcanine is going to be essentially immune to both of these status options. We're going to proceed to go for the Perish Song here. Meanwhile, I'm going to go for... Actually, no. Nope. We're going to go for Protect here. Meanwhile, I'm going to proceed to go for the Flare Blitz into Bonnet. This Flare Blitz should probably do... I want to say it's going to do around like 40 to 50. I don't think we actually KO because I'm going to assume they're fairly defensive. We're going to see the final Mon here, which ends up being... It's going to end up being Sandy Shocks. Okay, so no Scizor or Murkrow. It's fine. Let's see. So they're Protect and Raging Bull. That's fine. Okay, Brute Bonnet is going to go for the Terastal, this means. And that's also fine. They're actually Terra Fire, which this is a fine play, to be honest. So we know this has Spore, but what other attacks does it have? This will be a little bit concerning, but thankfully they've actually gotten rid of their only resistance to Palafin here. So while they're going to be resisting my Arcanine, sure, I can go for the Perish Song here and actually just start massacring their team. The one concern will be, I guess... Well, no, because I need to take out one of these Pokemon. So I think that means I'm going to have to take out Sandy Shocks here, which I'm okay with that. Okay, so what I'll do, I'm going to go for the Perish Song here. Meanwhile, I'm going to proceed to go for a Protect on Arcanine. I want to try and pressure both of these Pokemon because this is specifically the only field position, I think, where I can't actually pull out the game with Palafin, potentially. So I need one of these Pokemon to die, and I don't really care which one it is, or I need one of these Pokemon to be on the field when the other isn't. They're going to Earth Power into Arcanine. That's perfectly okay. I'm going to go for Play Off plus the Flare Blitz here. They're going to go for Spore. I'm pretty fine with that. Realistically, the one concern I'm going to have is the fact they're going to Earth Power into my... They're going to Earth Power into my Arcanine here, which shouldn't be a huge deal in all honesty. Yeah, it's not going to be a huge deal, to be honest. I'm going to go for the Protect here just in case, because they're not attacking me, thankfully, and I'm going to go for Flare Blitz. If they're Modest and Sandy Shocks as well, that should be huge. They're actually going to switch out entirely here, and they're going to proceed to bring in... Is it going to be the Fluttermane or the Tauros? This is going to be the Fluttermane. Okay, perfect. So Fluttermane is also going to be cleared, which should be huge for Gothitelle, actually, because only having to worry about Bonnet means that I can actually just take out Bonnet at this point, and then I'm going to proceed to bring them down to two Pokemon that shouldn't really be huge threats for Gothitelle. And even still, Palafin can nail Bonnet. Meanwhile, Sandy Shocks no longer has a booster energy anymore, which is also really valuable here. They're going to go for Spore, which I'm okay with that because of the fact that, again, they can't really Spore my team, thankfully. So I'm fine with this. I'm actually really fine with this. I'll probably end up letting Arcanine go down here and then bring Gothitelle on the final turn. I don't see a use for Arcanine actually against this comp. They're going to go into Sandy Shocks. This is fine. I'm going to go for the Disable on Bonnet just to try and clear that. Meanwhile, I'm going to go for a Protect to try and preserve some turns. If we happen to wake up, I'm pretty fine with this. I'll go for Perish Song in the final turn, similar to how I did in the last game, because it should at least apply some pressure into the Sandy Shocks if that stays in, which I'm going to assume it will. I think actually what's going to realistically happen this turn is Bonnet will switch out. Yep, they're going to switch out Bonnet. And they're going to go back into Tauros, which I'm fine with Tauros coming in as well. Tauros coming in really doesn't actually change how I play this turn, because even with Fluttering, even if Screamtail wakes up here, I'm not concerned with the fact that my opponent will just get a but it failed with Disable. Protect is going to go off. I'm fine with this. We're going to, with this in mind, I'm actually going to go for the Perish Song and then go into Gothitelle on this turn. Gothitelle should be fine at sponging these hits. They're going to go for Thunderbolt into Tail. This is pretty okay, actually. Okay. So now we're going to put these two Pokemon in a position where they should actually be pretty screwed over. We're going to go for the Perish Song here. Meanwhile, I'm going to... Well, actually, no. I never bring in Gothitelle hard here. I actually let both these Pokemon go down, I think. Because I don't actually need Arcanine against anything. We'll go for the Flare Blitz here into Sandy Shocks just in case. But I don't think it actually matters. I think that losing both of these Pokemon should truthfully be fine in preference for keeping Gothitelle at full health. I'll proceed to go into the Palafin and Gothitelle and then fake out Sandy Shocks next turn. And I think that ultimately will have some more merit. If we do take out Sandy Shocks here, even better. Nope, we do not. Okay, that's fine. What I might actually do instead, I'm going to fake out the Tauros, and I'm going to go for the Jet Punch into the... I'm going to go for the Jet Punch into the... What's it called again? I'm going to go for Jet Punch into the Sandy Shocks, and then I'm going to go for the Tauros. Because if I fake out the Tauros, I can stop it from burning me on that same turn, which should be pretty valuable. So we're going to bring in these two Pokemon. And then this should trap them up. And Bonnet should realistically be fodder at this point, because I just need to protect around these two, actually, which is pretty manageable here. The fake out killing the Sandy Shocks, though, I think is going to be my best play. Because essentially what my goal here is to do is to make sure that I can take out the Sandy Shocks and leave Tauros as the Pokemon that I don't actually have to care about. So we're going to go for the Sandy Shocks here, and this should massacre it. Meanwhile, the fake out is going to help avoid the burn, so I can take out the Brute Bonnet on the following turn, which is going to be insanely valuable. Well, not in the following turn. I'm actually going to dual protect next turn, because Tauros is going to be brought down to 2 turns, and then it's going to be down to 1 turn, and then I can just target Bonnet, and then I guarantee win the game. So that's going to be my play there, because at that point, they can't actually do anything about this, and I should clinch a win 100% here. They've essentially already lost this game on this turn. Even if they go for Protect, they've lost this game on this exact turn here, because even with Protect on Sandy Shocks at this point, I would actually guarantee be able to stall them out to where both these Pokemon drop, and I just have to deal with Bonnet in a 2v1, so I'm not really concerned with this either. The Tauros is now, well, the Sandy Shocks is now gone, and the Tauros is put in the exact position I was looking for. With, oh, they're Covert Cloak. Okay, well, that's still not too bad here, in all honesty. Though it's a lot less good. Covert Cloak is interesting. I actually think that's a pretty solid play for them. With Covert Cloak actually going off here, that's pretty bad. Because if I made the reverse play here, I could have been fine. Which maybe that was my safer play, in all honesty. Because if I think about it, the Tauros has not revealed an item yet. Meanwhile, the Sandy Shocks has. So maybe I should have actually made that play here. This might prove to be a bit fatal, but we'll have to see. I'm going to go for Protect here, just to stall the Tauros down. Because I essentially now need to 1v1 the... I need to 1v1 the Brute Bonnet here. Which is going to prove to be a little bit annoying, I can't lie. I'm going to assume it's a bit more Fizz Def leaning though, just by how they played this. So we'll have to see. But it's going to be rough, I can't lie. It's going to be rough for sure. So they're going to go for Sucker Punch actually on the Brute Bonnet. If this is their dark move of choice, I'm actually okay with that, in all honesty. Because what I can actually do, I could potentially go for the... So I'm going to go for the Fake Out here. Because Sucker Punch will fail. And then meanwhile the Tauros is going to get damaged here. Well, it's gonna take itself out here to the Perish Song, and they can't actually KO me, thankfully. They're going to not actually go for the Sucker Punch here. They're going to go for Spore. I'm still okay with this, in all honesty. My Goth is Berry, and I should get a few turns to potentially take this out. I just essentially need to stall them out of Sucker Punches, which is where this is going to come down to a little bit of a tricky situation. They've thankfully activated their Berry already, which is going to be good for us. So I need to guarantee, like, 2-tap this Pokemon, which will be rough. I'm going to proceed to go for Protect until I wake up. If they're going to go for like, a Seed Bomb here or something, that's really... I can't do a lot about that. Let's see. So Protect is going to go off, and Brute Bonnet... They're there for close combat. Okay. That's not going to do a lot, thankfully. And essentially what I need to do, I just need to call a turn right now. Because with the Terrastal here, they're going to be Terra Fire, and we've now activated our Berry on Gothitelle, thankfully. They are -1 already. Which is decent. They're wearing themselves into range of Gothitelle. I'm gonna go for Protect again, because I just need to land a Protect. They're gonna go for most likely another close combat here, which I'm fine with this again, because they're now -2. Okay. So we need to get them to -3. -3, we could actually start potentially taking them out. The issue being, I guess, is how they're gonna play this. We're gonna wake up here. That's fine. Okay. So we're gonna try and get them down to like a -3 or like a -4 situation. They're gonna go for Sucker Punch here. That's fine. Okay. So this is gonna be where it's gonna be a little bit tricky, because I essentially need to make sure that I can take 2 close combats here before I go for that Psychic, and I need to just hope that's gonna be enough. They've went through 3 Sucker Punches though, which is good. So we're gonna keep making this sequence of plays, and we're gonna hope that we can take this thing down. I need to keep clicking Protect though. I need to keep clicking Protect. We've went through 4 Sucker Punches now, because if we can get through all the Sucker Punches, I can actually guarantee win. So we're gonna just hope that that's what they're gonna allow me to do here. So they're going to go for Spore. Okay, so they're gonna go for Spore. This is fine. Then in that case, I'm gonna actually go for a Psychic here. Because I need to make sure that I'm alive. If this is their way of baiting me into clicking Psychic here, then good play by them. They did not click Sucker Punch, thankfully. So this ends up bringing it down pretty low. Now, I do have a little bit of a predicament here, because essentially I need to make sure that I can get like a turn 1 wake up. A turn 1 wake up will do it for me. I'm gonna go for Protect on the first turn just to avoid a Sucker Punch right now. But on the following turn, I do need to get off a Psychic. And I need to essentially make this the turn I do it. Okay, so it's looking pretty grim, but if I can land the Psychic on this turn without them clicking Sucker Punch, I win. And that's really what it comes down to in this exact turn. Gothitelle's fast asleep, fuck, okay. So, then in that case, yeah, they guarantee win, because they'll always get the Sucker Punch off here, because I guarantee don't have a way to actually damage them. So, this was very unfortunate, of course. It really did come down to sleep, but at the same time, though, I mean, I don't blame my opponent at all for going for that. They had their win con there, and they made it work. I unfortunately just didn't do a proper job of managing the threats, and it really came down to my own misplay, because I could have avoided this scenario entirely, actually. So it's completely self-inflicted, in all honesty. I won't even blame the sleep turns, to be completely honest, because as I said, I could have done the reverse play and went for the fake out into Sandy Shocks and taken out Tauros, and then I would have actually guaranteed the win. So it's going to be unfortunate. However, the video is... well, actually, I'm not doing a team builder today. We're going to try and get one more game in. This will be a bit of a long video, but I do want to get a win because this team is really incredible. And I think, unfortunately, that game came down to misplays. And I think the first one just was unfortunate for Amir. We'll see you guys in game number 3, though. Peace out, guys. Okay, so looking at game number 3, we're taking on a team consisting of Roaring Moon, Iron Hands, Iron Bundle, Moongus, Arcanine, and Scizor. Okay. So looking at this team, I'm thinking that this is definitely going to be a Flutter main lead here. I'm going to assume that Roaring Moon plus Bundle might lead. So I'm going to lead off with Flutter main plus Palafin. I'm going to proceed to go into Gothitelle from here. I do need to take out the Roaring Moon, though. That's going to be a big problem, actually. And I'm going to bring Arcanine as the last mon. Arcanine Intimidate will be very valuable against stuff like Iron Hands and Roaring Moon in this game. And depending on their lead, especially if they're Booster Energy Speed, I might actually just go hard Arcanine on with the Flutter main. Well, actually, I guess at that point, why do I bring Flutterman? I think I always bring Screamtail. And then I'm gonna withdraw, and then bring that. Yeah, that should work out better. I don't think the Flutterman will be that useful here, in all honesty. It's good damage-wise, but speaking against this particular team, I think it can actually do a better job at just completely out-walling it. So I think that's gonna be my best play. So that's why I'm going to try and have to make this work, and we'll have to see. So they're going to lead off with the Iron Bundle, Roaring Moon. Yep, okay. So I do stand by this lead then. I think this should ultimately work out better with the Screamtail lead. My play should always be to just switch out Palafin entirely, and then, yep, they're going to be Booster Energy Speed. Well, probably Booster Energy Speed. Their attack, actually. Okay. Still fine. So we're going to proceed to go into... we're going to go into Arcanine here. By going to the Arcanine, I can essentially try and go for the Intimidate on Moon. This should weaken it later on. I don't anticipate that my opponent will end up going for some sort of Hydro Pump into that spot. We'll go for the Play Rough here, and then I'm going to try and kill the Moon. If they proceed to go for the Terra Flying, that's fine, but I'm hoping that they just burn the Terrastal entirely here. So that way then I can... If they burn the Terrastal on Moon, that's the least of my concerns in my opinion, because sure, they're attack boosting, but they're also going to get intimidated here, which should negatively impact them in the long term. They're actually just going to lose their Moon entirely, so that's also really good. So I'm really glad that I let off with this specifically because it should ultimately, I think, benefit me better, since now I'm going to have a really strong offensive option here. I'm going to proceed to go for dual protect on this turn, guaranteed, because what I can do is I'm going to hope that this thing will go for Hydro Pump, and I'm going to disable it. That should help Arcanine have significantly better longevity against this team, and especially when I'm assuming Iron Hands will be coming in here, this should also try and limit this thing from going for any sort of fake out to allow Arcanine to guarantee die. So what I'll probably end up doing as well is I'm going to go for E-Speed into the... Actually, no, I'm going to go for Willow. I'm going to go for the Protect first, though, and then probably go for the Willow. So we'll go for Protect here. Dual Protect should be good. And then I'm going to limit this thing from going for pumps. I can wall it out entirely with my Arcanine. And then at the same time, I'm going to make sure that E-Speed will break Focus Sash. Well, actually, no, I'm going to go for Willow and then E-Speed plus Play Off. And I think that's how I'm going to take out the Iron Bundle here. They are going to go for Fake Out with Iron Hands. It's fine. Meanwhile, again, Icy Wind and then Hydro Pump. Yep. So we're going to disable that. And then Iron Hand should get burned here. If they're going to burn the Terra Fire now, I'm okay with this. Terra Fire shouldn't be a big deal because we'll have Palafin in the back. So we'll go for Disable here. And they'll make themselves weaker to Palafin, which is essentially the 50-50 they need to make here. Oh, wait, right, because we have Icy Winded. Shit. Okay, well, it's still honestly not a big deal. That's really not a huge concern because I've disabled this. The Hydro Pump being disabled is still their best damaging output, which means that Scream Tail is going to be significantly harder to KO. And then I can actually proceed to go into Gothitelle here and try and trap these Pokemon in, which should be also pretty valuable. As I can go for a Heal Pulse later on, which should be decent. Again, they can't really do more damage to my Scream Tail than they already were, which is good. So I'm going to go for the Heal Pulse here into my Scream Tail. And then meanwhile, I'm going to go for a Perish Song here. Then I'm going to go for the Dual Protect at this point, because I want to just make sure that I'm getting this thing as healthy as possible. Meanwhile, weakening both of their Pokemon as well. So I think that's what I'm going to go for at this point. We'll just have to see. We'll just have to see what they have. Yeah, we'll have to see. They're going to go for Terra Ice on Palafin, actually. This is interesting, but it's going to be... They're probably doing this to try and boost the Freeze Dried energy, which is perfectly fine. The Freeze Dry damage is going to go off here, and it's going to proceed to target into... I think it was into Scream Tail. Yep, Scream Tail. Okay. Thankfully, we do manage to take this, though. Pretty comfortably, actually. So at this point, my Gothitelle should be able to guarantee a Heal Pulse into Scream Tail, which means that I can probably keep this whole shenaniganry up into turn number 2, and then go for Protects. They're going to go for Wild Charge into the Gothitelle spot, which is pretty okay as well. Because essentially, they're either going to dual target the Gothitelle, or they're not going to, and I'm still fine there. What's my play here? So I think definitively, my play should always be to go for... Is it always to go for Protect this turn? I don't think it is. I think it's to actually go for Protect on Gothitelle, and then go for Disable on the Iron Hands. Because they're going for Wild Charges here to try and do more damage to my Gothitelle. I need to make sure... I could have also potentially disabled the the bundle. Yep, see, they're going to go for the dual target here, which I'm pretty okay with. The Disable is going to go off, and that's going to be good to neutralize the Iron Hands here. The Wild Charge should no longer be a threat, and this should be good for us overall. So we're going to have 2 turns left. From here, what I'm going to proceed to do, I'm going to go for a... Heal Pulse here into well, I'm going to go for Heal Pulse on my Scream Tail, since I know I guarantee take the Freeze Dry. And then I'm going to go for a I'm going to go for a Play Rough here into the bundle. Just in the off chance they manage... Oh, they just cancel. Okay, beautiful. So we managed to win that game, which I will definitely take that. I think realistically Palafin was in a position where it could have cleaned anyway, seeing as they didn't really have good resist. That assumes, of course, Amoonguss wasn't there, but even still, Gothitelle could have always made it to the end game there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and if you did, like and subscribe for more. Thank you to Wolfie so much for this team. Really big inspiration, of course. Really, also one of the people that I learn all my VGC content from, and I really hope, and I assume he will, but I really hope he makes a team report on this, because I would love to know what Wolf was thinking during all of this building, of course. Shout out to channel members, of course, being Josh K Ultra Player, Mia, Zeke Zero, Matt O'Shea, Nox Nocturnal, Koemi, and Slade. Your guys' support on the channel is greatly appreciated. And if you want to become a channel member today, just a couple of dollars a month, of course, and you get some bonus content every week. I did miss last week's video, but next week we're going to be, well, this coming Saturday, we're going to have a team report for my Orlando run, which you'll also actually see the team in a showcase tomorrow on that. So we'll look forward to seeing you guys there. With that said, I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Until then, peace out, guys.